So, we have been discussing beyond religion, ethics for a whole world by His Holiness the Dalai Lama. And last week I wasn't here. Everybody kindly led the class. And I believe you got to page
at least 61. 64. This is when we left off.
Wednesday night.
Yeah, we got to the bottom, almost to the bottom of that page.
distinguishing the action from the actor. Distinguishing the action from the actor is an interesting subject.
Could you say that again?
Distinguishing the actor and the action from the actor from the action. So, when we engage in a non-virtuous action,
It's cold.
no, don't sit on the prayers.
I'm sorry.
When we do something non-virtuous, we think, oh my goodness, I've done something that wasn't very good, and we recognize that we've done this, and we regret that we've done this, and we're able to separate our action from ourselves. Just the mere fact that we are able to recognize that we've done something not very good means that in some way we have an objective view of ourselves that recognizes the impropriety, the wrong of our action. And so there is this sort of separation that we have between us and this action that we've done, and we regret it, and we think to ourselves, I really have to not do those kind of things, and we eventually work on ourselves, or we may repeat the action, whatever it is, but we make this clear separation between us and the non-virtuous thing. We sort of forgive ourselves. We're tolerant. Or we work on ourselves. But there is this differentiation. When someone does something wrong, does something to us, for example, the action that they've done to us, and they themselves are one and the same to us. We consider that they are bad, that there's something wrong with them because they've engaged in this non-virtuous action towards us, this sort of negative action. And what we have to work at doing is developing that same, maybe we should close this.
Yeah. It'll work for a while.
Like rehearsing stuff.
What?
It's an actor's group.
Of course.
It is. It's not their voices that are making the sound.
We go.
Just the sound is happening.
Joseph's up early.
So, yes, in this case, so the people in the room next door are engaging in an acting class, and so the anger that they may be rehearsing and they themselves are separate. I remember Richard Gere telling us that His Holiness had asked him whether, when he has to act anger out, whether he actually felt angry. And he admitted that he felt a little bit angry, yes, but he had to sort of rely on that sense of anger to be able to then convey it in his acting. I think that when His Holiness asks one a question like that, it's sort of pointing out a little place where we should work on ourselves. And here, our acting neighbors, so on the one hand, because they're acting, the emotion that they're conjuring up is really not even related to their relationship to the world. It's an act. However, when we judge someone for acting, doing something wrong, doing something that hurts us, we have to work at separating the person from the action. We have to do this with the understanding that it's not that that person is inherently evil, it's that that person has acted in a non-virtuous way, and that there is let's say, a dynamic to that which is able to change. The person can come around to a different place. The person can change, improve, become a friend, so that the judgment that we impose on someone when they've done something wrong to us is really not accepting the idea of change, is I don't know what you'd call it, is placing upon the person a judgment, an attitude which views them as being one with that action, and feeling that there is something, I don't know, sort of negative about the whole package that we're judging.
So that if someone's acting, you can say they're separate from their emotion.
Yeah.
But their acting out is not connected to their emotion. But conventionally speaking,
in the real world,
people that we judge conventionally, it's because we say that they're angry, and emotionally they're angry. They're not just acting out.
And that their anger, or that their whatever the action that they've engaged in that has hurt us, that is them. That they are somehow evil. We fuse the action and the them in a way that we don't do towards ourselves, and that an actor doesn't do when they are engaged in acting. And we have to really work at separating these two. We have to really work.
Even if we see that they're connected and they're very angry emotionally, we need to see beyond that. We need to see that karmically, there may be a cause to it.
We're going to, let's listen to the way His Holiness puts it. The important point about the principle of compassion as a basis for the exercise of justice is that it is directed not towards the actions, but towards the actor. So compassion is directed not at the action, compassion is directed towards the actor. Compassion demands that we condemn wrong actions and oppose them with all means necessary, while at the same time forgiving and maintaining an attitude of kindness towards the perpetrators of those actions. So the action is one thing, and the actor is another. Towards the actor, our compassionate attitude should have a quality of kindness. Just as in theistic terms, God forbids sin while still loving the sinner, So we too should forcefully oppose wrong while maintaining concern for the wrongdoer. It is right to do this because, again, all human beings are capable of change. I think we all know this from our own experience. After all, it is not uncommon for those who lead reckless lives when young to become responsible and caring as they gain maturity and experience. In history, too, there are many examples of individuals whose early lives were morally reprehensible, but who later brought great benefit to others. We might think of Emperor Ashoka, for example, or St. Paul, or numerous others. So Ashoka, the Emperor Ashoka was this ruthless conqueror of all parts of India, and in his conquest, he just savaged his enemies. And then he had this epiphany where he became a Buddhist and developed feelings of compassion and responsibility towards those whom he had conquered, and started to spread Buddhism throughout his empire. I'm not so sure about the St. Paul. St. Paul was not one of them.
Remember the
Paul was similar.
He got knocked off. Saul, why are you persecuting me? He was against the Christians, and then he had an epiphany, like we say, a flash of light came off fell off his horse, and we heard a voice say, Saul, Saul, why are you persecuting me? And that changed him. I don't know the full juicy details of all of it, but that was his main thing, that he changed. And then he wrote these epistles to the Corinthians, all these things that are part of the Bible, I think, some of them.
Yeah, the New Testament.
The New Testament, yeah.
But he was after the time of Jesus, right? He was not one of the apostles.
Not the
Right.
Apostle Paul, no.
Right.
I don't think so.
No,
Paul of something is there.
he was an apostle.
He was an apostle?
No, it wasn't part of the 12, from the
Wasn't
12
the 12.
apostles.
He wasn't a disciple.
A disciple.
Wasn't a direct disciple.
Paul of something. Paul of few gods. Saul.
This capacity for change is true even of those who have committed the most terrible deeds.
Yes.
I'm encouraged in this belief by my discussions over the years with prisoners' representatives and social workers involved with prisoners, both in India and in the United States. It is a great tragedy that in many countries, as statistics suggest, a majority of prisoners later re-offend. Some countries are now introducing rehabilitation programs which offer offenders guidance on how they can, through mental training, gradually readjust their understanding of the world and learn to contribute to rather than detract from the well-being of others. For example, under the initiative introduced by Kiran Bedi in Delhi's high-security Tihar jail, prisoners are given classes in mindfulness meditation. I'm optimistic that with time this program will prove effective in helping even the most desperate inmates develop a sense of purpose in life through concern for others. I'm also always humbled when I meet people who run such programs and the prisoners who have felt their positive impact. To summarize, let me say simply, remember that even a criminal is a human being, like yourself, capable of change. Punish the actor in proportion to the misdeed, but do not indulge the desire of vengeance. Think rather of the future and of how to ensure that the crime is not repeated. So, well, I don't quite know. I think this is a moment where we can discuss, I'd love to hear your views on this. and I wanted the last time, the class that we had in New Jersey, to introduce the most important person we are working at judging and at, let's say, changing is ourselves. And the method by which we come to work at changing behavior is by means of what I don't know why we translate as confession, the process of recognizing that we have done something non-virtuous, regretting it, and determining to apply the countermeasures to refrain from repeating the action. So what I'm really saying is that as we make this separation here, Somin is talking about punishment, is talking about distinguishing the action from the actor, but I think that we have to relate this to our own behavior. The most important actor whose actions we are working at judging and changing is this one. And if, as we read about these things, we work at applying them to ourselves, I think that's really, from a spiritual point of view, from I feel what brings us here to discuss and to consider here at the Tibet Center, it's making changes to ourselves. And there, we should really each day consider our actions. This is something that we in the morning we work at setting our motivation. The most important thing we can do is to determine that we are going to lead our lives this day devoted to cultivating a feeling of responsibility towards others, to working towards the attainment of full enlightenment in order to most effectively help others. And so we are devoting our lives, our day, to others rather than simply to ourselves. That's the motivation that we set at the beginning of the day. At the end of the day, we then go over our day and we think of the actions that we've engaged in. And anything that we've done that is non-virtuous, anything that we've done that has been selfish, we've gotten angry, whatever it is, we recognize, we acknowledge. That's really important to be strict with ourselves and to have regret for having engaged in whatever it was, and to really develop the attitude, I must refrain from repeating that. It is in that, with that attitude that we take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, that we determine to engage in the Buddhist path, to benefit others, to work towards the enlightenment by which we can benefit others. So we are applying this whole concept of judgment, not to others, but to ourselves. That prescription is how we should lead our lives. And if we engage in life in that way, then we're really setting up the system by which we can slowly but steadily change. That's the what would you call it? The method. That's the training system by which we really can change. And, you know, change is something that we can aspire to change. When we read a Buddhist book, we can think, wow, that's really good, that's what I want. But it's when we actually do this kind of simple work that slowly we're bringing about change. And we can't expect changes in a few months. We can't expect changes in a year. But maybe over a period of a few years, if we look back after 2, 3, 4, 5 years, we can see that it's not that we can say to ourselves, oh, I'm a more compassionate person, or oh, I'm a less angry person. But we can see that our wish to be a less angry person, our determination to be slightly more generous has developed. But we have to do that sort of daily exercise. If not, we really can't expect much change. And I say that to you, I say that to myself. And this is something that we have to, we all have to engage in if we expect the Buddhist teachings to actually mean something to us. Sir.
So I see what you're saying is it can be applied on many levels. But on the basic human level, I see like, oh, I want to eat an extra slice of pizza. I want to enjoy food. I want to enjoy extra binging on watching TV. And these are contrary for the benefit of self. So how strict should we get with oneself?
So I think that, yeah, it is a good question, and it's
That won't last.
I'm gonna drink on some water. One thing is that I think that we shouldn't necessarily feel that we're going to attain total, true mastery of ourselves. No, we are working at it. You know, developing the discipline to refrain from that extra slice of pizza. I mean, I might be able to do so today, and then tomorrow someone offers pizza, and they're saying, have.
And before you know it, you're 20 pounds more heavier.
So we work on it. The tendency to be stingy, the tendency to these things we work at. We see someone and we say, come on, let me give, and then we think, I wish I could give more. I wish I had, but I delight in giving. Whatever, the little things that we work at.
I was having a conversation with a friend of mine last week, and we were speaking about what is natural law and what is sin. And natural law is stating a person's natural rights would be to be free, to do whatever the person wants. And sin would be overstepping and hurting someone else, overreaching oneself. So, if we eat an extra pizza, is it a sin?
No,
Is
the
it,
word sin is a dangerous one.
Yeah.
So the main line, if we are working towards helping others, one of the vehicles, one of the methods by which we help others is this physical body of ours. And to work towards keeping it healthy, work towards preserving our vitality, is working towards preserving the vitality of the vehicle by which we can benefit others. So we're keeping it healthy for the sake of helping others.
Mm.
That extra slice of pizza is going to harm the
Could,
vehicle
yeah.
by which we can serve others.
And then in the evening, you're looking at the small virtues that you've created as well as the things that you need to work on. So that you're not, so that you keep a balance to encourage yourself to continue to change.
Yes, and that's very important.
Yeah.
We should also, when we said no to the pizza, we should rejoice in the fact that we said no to the pizza. Bravo! Hooray! But that's important because that helps us develop a certain enthusiasm. You know, what we call joyous effort,
Joyous perseverance.
perseverance. The joy is what gives us the force to actually engage in virtue.
So are the motivations always the 6 perfections, or is it broader than that in terms of the motivation in the morning that you establish? It can be whatever.
Everything. But I you know, if you are thinking about to generate bodhicitta, to really consider, as we have been reading this book, the way in which each and every person, just as I want happiness and don't want to suffer, each and every person wants happiness and doesn't want to suffer. That sort of lays the groundwork for them recognizing how everything we have is due to the kindness of others, and how all of our selfish actions cause the unhappiness, the difficulties, the suffering that we experience. And then we develop the determination to refrain from the selfish, self-centered actions and work towards. And if we can just think those things at the beginning of the day, which end in the determination to seek enlightenment, to really benefit others, that becomes the motivation for the day.
Right, and when you trip upon an action you do during the course of the day, you can consider it and then reflect back on that motivation, right? Easier to tally them up at the end if you kind of acknowledge them as you go.
Well, yes, we acknowledge them as we go through the day, and then at the end, we check ourselves out.
You can actually do this without an app.
Yeah.
Do you do that actually yourself every day? You take a tally of what you've done and positive,
Sometimes
negative,
if I'm really
T-chart?
tired, a monk friend of mine said, you know, it's not I get in bed, I desperately try to go through it all. It depends, but it's an important practice.
It's a technique.
Yeah.
Built into some of the prayers too.
Yeah, and it's also something that we should. I mean, the setting of the motivation at the beginning of the day is really important. They're both important. And throughout the day, if we can sort of bring these thoughts into our day. So here, I wanted to find some. From a Buddhist point of view, we might think of this as engaging in virtue and turning away from non-virtue upon reflecting on karma and its effects in general and in detail. From non-virtue comes suffering. If we really think about the fact that from non-virtue comes our suffering, all the difficulties that we experience in the day is the result, or all the sufferings are the result of our non-virtuous actions. So we should really think constantly, excuse me. We should really think constantly, I'm going to use this. So the fact that I'm about to sneeze is all due to non-virtue in the
In the
past.
past, a mild one.
Or dust in the present.
It was very mild because the sneeze has gone away, but it will come back.
All right.
So when a Buddhist monk gets sick, like appendix or a tumor, God forbid, do they see that as negative karma that created this?
Absolutely, not just a Buddhist monk.
Everybody.
Absolutely. Any difficulty we have as we walk through the day when it's hot, we are struggling with the heat, all of the difficulties that we are experiencing as we go through the day, we should think is the result of our own non-virtuous action in the past. When we're walking along and suddenly we pass a shop and the door opens and there's a whiff of air conditioning that cools us off, that little moment is the result of some virtuous action we've done. And as we go through life, if we pass a flower shop and there's suddenly the smell of flowers, that's the result of virtuous actions. When someone is kind to us, that's the result of virtuous actions. When someone cheats us or someone gets angry or bumps us or whatever, that's the result of our non-virtuous action. We should really think that everything that we experience as we go through life is the result of our...
Do you try to connect to the negative karma?
No.
When
You
it was from?
recognize. You simply recognize that you are responsible. But more important is if you recognize that in itself will give you the determination to work towards engaging in virtue.
Yeah, I really believe in that recognition, whether it's obviously what you just stated about the recognition of negative, but also I'm really trying to learn, because it's so against our Puritan Anglo aesthetic, of rejoicing and recognizing the positive, recognizing that scent of the flowers and trying to go, oh, I rejoice that I smell those incredible flowers here amidst the stink of the city or whatever, and all that stuff. And I've always found it so interesting looking at this so-called, the wellness, all this, the nowadays, the pseudo-Buddhists, which it always seems to me, but the positive affirmations and those signs on the walls and things like that, I think of the rejoicing, and particularly if you're from the culture that I'm from, which very puritanical and stuff, rejoicing is just the best thing. And then when, His Holiness or the Buddhist teachers talk about rejoicing for others, that's super powerful. And it's also not noticing the negative, because I'm super critical and notice the negative and can riff on that forever, but this rejoicing and recognizing.
So instead of getting jealous, you rejoice for other people.
Yes, exactly, exactly that.
And it's very interesting because we can get jealous or we can rejoice. And if we get jealous, we're miserable. If we rejoice, we're happy.
Yeah.
It's very difficult.
No, it is not if we can actually view it objectively that way. That sets us up to make it a little easier.
And if we're jealous, we're going to be jealous in the future as a result of that being jealous.
Well, right, it's
you're
an
dealing
endless-
another hand that
it's
you
an
just
endless
played.
cycle.
And we start it and we can end it.
Well, it's similar to being angry at somebody, and you're the one who's feeling the anger as opposed to resolving the situation, or making your peace with it, whatever it is that you need to move beyond it. It's your choice how you respond. You have control over that. You don't always have control of your instincts, but you have control of your mind to practice to get there.
So, sometimes when I get sick or I have a bad experience, I realize that it's a good experience because I can help other people later on from this experience.
And you also think about taking off, let you take on that suffering so others don't have to experience it.
So
Yes.
that process, that's already a rather deep one, where when you are sick, you think, you imagine that this illness that you are experiencing is actually the taking on of the suffering of others. We had a teacher who came to the Tibet Center, a close friend of Chungla Rinpoche's, who came to the Tibet Center, whatever, 45 years ago, Tsemchab Rinpoche, who said, we can't take on the suffering of others. Each individual suffers due to his or her own karma. So it's not that we can take that away from them. And then he said, but I did hear of some holy being who was able to take on the suffering of others. And he got sick and he died. That's wonderful. That's what he said. And he was giving us a little flavor of what real practice is, where you should be willing to take on the suffering of others and to suffer and have your life come to an end. It's not just sort of imagination, it's for real.
Did the Buddha heal people like Jesus did by touching them and healing them, or giving them energy?
So they say, but in order to have the ability to do that, you have to become a Buddha. And we say that in terms of our own, there are two things at work. There are the blessings of the Buddha, and there's the effort that we make. And they are both vital. We can't simply depend on the Buddha pulling us out of our situation. The Buddha helps us, the Buddha teaches, the Buddha is devoting 100% of his effort to helping you and to helping each of us. The Buddhas are out there in force, desperately trying to help us, encourage us along in our practice. But as we know, it is our own effort that matters. It is the will, it is the discipline, it is the perseverance that we engage in, that we put to work, that determines whether or not we actually change.
So as we try to improve ourselves in the morning and at night, we can also add to it that if we try, then maybe the blessings of the Buddha will come to
Not
make it
if we
easier.
try, they're there, they're desperately
Be
there.
receptive. We have to
Right.
Yeah.
cultivate
You have to
receptivity.
create your own causes for those things to manifest.
Think that around you there are infinite Buddhas who are dancing about saying, come on, Joseph, don't eat that pizza.
I'll eat it for you.
Truly, I mean, we should, there are infinite Buddhas, infinite, they're all around. And they're all there egging us along. I believe that.
Me too.
One encouraged me to have espresso.
They're saying, Tony, have the decaf.
Someone did, but the whole bunch came in the mail.
But it's
Somehow.
also, all these things, you look at quantum physics, which, I mean, just the laws of science, they enforce this stuff, obviously. His Holiness is so into that. But if you there's just so many examples of where you can see it resonates. All
See
this.
what resonates. What are you?
This energy, it's like throwing a rock into a pond, the vibe goes out. You know, the vibration goes out, the wave goes out, the energy goes out, it goes out from you, and that's why you feel
That
so.
gives you, that makes you more of an optimist.
I guess so, certainly become that way.
It goes both ways.
Right, I was going to say,
True.
it's an observer
Yeah.
of how things actually happen. And there's a reasoning behind it.
Spend 5 minutes listening to Trump and then boom, goes in the other direction. But,
Has nothing to say.
So what's very important is for us to acknowledge the mechanics of karma. And Shantideva says, the sage has said that conviction is the root of all virtues. So conviction and to meditate constantly on fruitional effects, that is karma, is the root of this conviction. So it's really important for us to consider karma, to consider cause and effect, to recognize how our actions determine, as my friend here is saying.
You said karma is the root of conviction.
That's what, yes, fruition, karma. Meditating constantly on karma is the root of the conviction. Conviction in the importance of doing virtue. Once we understand the mechanics of karma, that becomes the basis for our determination to engage in virtue.
And karma as motivated action. Karma is motivated action.
Yeah.
I have a question. So, if you have a pleasurable feeling that comes from virtuous karma, so if the pleasurable feeling came from non-virtuous actions such as eating pizza or killing fish, did that pleasurable feeling still came from virtuous karma, even the condition was killing the fish? Like some people like to fish,
Yeah.
and then they have a pleasurable feeling. Is that pleasurable feeling came from virtuous karma, even the action itself is non-virtuous?
Regrettably, yes. Regrettably, any bit of pleasure that we feel is the result of the fact that we are experiencing pleasure is the result of virtue. Experiencing that pleasurable feeling as a result of having engaged in something negative means that we are eventually going to experience non-pleasure. Think of, who could I be thinking of? Some rich person who is experiencing success and pleasure, but is engaging in really hideous, insidious actions. The pleasure that they're experiencing, the success that they're experiencing, all of that is the result of having been generous in the past, having been kind to others, and all of that. But the person's immediate actions are going to cause them to suffer in the future.
And the future may not be this life.
So the pleasure, the virtuous karma can ripen by action of the negative action.
Yes, yes.
Very good.
Maybe like when Milarepa, when he was a student and he had to build another building for his guru, he had to have conviction that he would be blessed. So his road was difficult, but he had conviction. So that when he saw it was finished, he was blessed.
Yes, but I think he was also you know, we have to remember, though I've just quoted Shantideva, we have to remember that the laws of cause and effect, and I think this pertains to your question, are among the, we talked about evident phenomena, hidden phenomena, and very hidden phenomena. Karma, cause and effect, is in the category of the very hidden. So the evident is like, I can establish that, you know, this bottle is, my eye consciousness can establish that this is before me. Hidden phenomena are those things that we cannot see or establish directly. We have to infer their existence. Very hidden phenomena, we have to depend on someone trustworthy who tells us that such and such is, we have to establish the trustworthiness of the person. But they are not establishable. We cannot point to a particular pleasure and say that that was caused by such and such. That's beyond our ability. We can establish that it must have been due to a virtuous action that so and so is experiencing pleasure, even having caused non-virtue. But we can't establish what the virtuous action was that caused that. That's beyond our ability. So that's in the very hidden category. So karma, the laws of cause and effect, are in the very hidden category. And I think it's important for us to admit that to ourselves, that, you know, we can't sort of say, I'm experiencing this difficulty because I did that. No, it doesn't. It's not that simple. What we can do is see that as a result of being more patient, being more tolerant, being kinder to others, we are happier. The people around us are happier. That we can actually see, but we can't pinpoint that which is causing us a particular effect in this life. So, I think that we've...
Don't forget Jeffrey Hutt.
So, we heard the very sad news that Jeffrey Hopkins passed away last night or this morning. So, Jeffrey is someone who, for many of us, really provided us with the translations of texts, Tibetan texts, which we depended on. He established a standard of translation that we really knew we could depend on to convey the original. He provided his wonderful thesis, which was published as Meditation on Emptiness, and really gave us the basic foundations for a serious study of Buddhism and the basis for material to contemplate and meditate on. Jeffrey was enormously kind and helpful through to the end of his life. I gather.
Was he a New Yorker?
No.
No, I don't know. He studied with Geshe Wangyal in New Jersey. He then taught at the university. He studied also in Madison, Wisconsin with Khensur Lekden, and then he started teaching at the University of Virginia, and he trained a whole group of translators who are the...
How old was he?
He was about to turn 82.
Wow.
They have it in 1940, born in 1940. in Wikipedia, but I don't think that's accurate. I think you're right.
Oh, I don't know.
I don't. Anyway, you knew him, right? The best gift I ever got, he gave me, when Jeffrey Hopkins published that meditation, I think he gave me a copy. Best gift I got my whole life, really, because I keep going back to it. We have a copy in the Tibet Center, which is frequently dipped into.
What was the name of the book?
Meditation on Emptiness. It has everything laid out.
It's coming out, there's a new version of it that's just being reissued. That,
Did either of you ever go see Geshe Wangyal when he was teaching in Jersey?
no, but I went to his center in New Jersey.
I met him at the Tibet Center. He came once.
Because that's like a hot pot of Jeffrey Hopkins and all his people who went to the university. Yeah.
Darn
Answer a question quick, or are you going to do tomorrow?
What is it?
Carol wants to know if you could contrast virtuous and ethical behavior.
Carol Martinek or Sussel?
Carol Martinez.
There's two Carols.
Please contrast virtuous and ethical behavior.
Please, Walter. Can answer that tomorrow night.
It's a good
We
question.
will discuss that tomorrow.
She
We
can
get the answer now?
In person, she can
I
get
don't
the
know
answer.
how
She
much
lives
of a difference.
half a mile away. So she should roll down the hill.
Okay, so we are saying we are recollecting the qualities of the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, dedicating this to Jeffrey Hopkins and to his future,
And June Leaf.
and June Leaf, Robert Frank's wife,
Yes.
the sculptor, potter,
Painter.
painter. Okay. I
Frustrate the omniscient one.
Thus
Thus
the
the Buddha,
Buddha,
Bhagavata,
Tathagata, Arhat,
Sammasambuddha,
Buddha, the learned and virtuous one, the Sugata, the knower of the world, the charioteer and tamer of beings, the unsurpassable one, the teacher of devas and humans is the Buddha Bhagavata. The Tathagata is born with all merit. He does not waste fruits of virtue. He is completely ornamented with all patience. He is the basis of the treasures of merit. He is adorned with minor honors. He blossoms with flowers of the major trust. His activity is timely and appropriate. Seeing is without disharmony. He brings joy to those who walk with faith. His knowledge cannot be overpowered. His strength cannot be challenged. He is the teacher of all sentient beings. He is the father of bodhisattvas. He is the king of noble ones. He is the guide of those who journey to the city of Nirvana. He possesses immeasurable wisdom. He possesses inconceivable confidence. His stage is completely pure. His memory is pleasing. One never has enough of seeing him. His form is incomparable. He is not stained by the wrath of desire. He is not stained by the wrath of war. He is not affected by formless realm. He is completely liberated from suffering. He is completely liberated from the skandhas. He is not possessed with tattoos. His antennas are controlled. He has complete health and mass. He is completely liberated from his grand power. He is liberated from gravity. He has run over the river. He is the perfect laws of wisdom. He abides the wisdom of the Bhagavata,
The rise in the past, present,
and the
future.
future. He does not abide in nirvana. He abides in ultimate perfection. He is Radha Bodhi when he gives all sentient beings. All these are the perfect virtues of the greatness of Buddha Bhagavata. The holy Dharma is good in the beginning, good in the middle, and good at the end. His being is excellent, his words are excellent. It is uncorrupted. It is completely perfect and completely pure. It completely purifies. The Bhagavad teachings are well. It brings completion. It is free from sickness. It is always timely. It directs one's further. Seeing it fulfills one's purpose. It brings the remaining side of life.
The Dharma which is taught by the Buddha is revealed properly in the Naya. It is renunciation. It causes one to arrive at the perfect enlightenment, and without contradiction. It is pithy, it is trustworthy, and what's the end of the journey. As for the Sangha, the great Dharma, they enter happily, they enter sadly, they enter glory, they enter harmoniously. They are worthy of religion, draw and promise. They are worthy of receiving frustration. They are filled with glorious merit.
They are completely capable of receiving all gifts.
They are generosity. They are great object of generosity.
The protector who possesses great kindness, the omniscient teacher, the basic devotion of the virtue, pure
heart free from passion, rigid separating from lower ranks.
This
ignorant is the supreme ultimate truth, attached to the Dharma with peace. Having been liberated, they show the path of liberation. They are fully dedicated to the systems. They are fully dedicated as virtues written. Attached to the Sangha, attached to the Buddha, the leader, attached to the Dharma, the protector, attached to the Sangha, the unity, attached respectfully, always to be free. The Buddha spiritual temple, the Dharma spiritual temple, the Sangha spiritual temple. Everything is therefore the significance table maintained in one free pure realm.
Let us recite prayer for swift return. Exalted wisdom of all victors gathered in a drop. So refuge manifested in the form of the Lord Guru, please hear our sincere today and our prayers may be fulfilled. We beseech the great Father God, accomplishing all of God's aspirational prayers. Lord, speak to the middle of God's teaching, spreading thanks and of the vaccination. The holy commitment, I will invite all beings to be my guests in unsurpassed great awakening, yet you have performed the activities of the form body that serves the welfare of God. If that were the supreme among beings of Bodhisattvas, though impossible for you to afflict existence and to abandon your commitment to liberate all beings, we beseech you, Southern Rambhakaya, to swiftly return and run Rambhakaya, for our God and children of thy 70 beings. Having reached the harmonious fellowship, religious life, and witness, please come swiftly return our supreme illumination, full of the sacred teachings, and worship the living law, return as glory of the Blessed Advent. Manifest the truth of the three religious truths, Mahaka, Mahayana, and the fellowship of the Dharma protector, may use for thy guidance the will always, the swift glory and round the road of the next project of strength on the God's grace.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you that day anyway.